Hello, this is Pastor Samuel Obadare. The video you're about to watch has a very important message for my country, Nigeria. It started out as a personal burden weighing on my heart. But the more I thought about it, the more I wrote down my thoughts, and the more I prayed about it, I realized that it wasn't just one of those burdens that will temporarily appear and rest on your heart, but fizzle away with the passage of time. Actually, after a while, the Lord spoke to me about it, confirming to me that it is a message that He wants me to deliver to the country, Nigeria. It started about 4 months ago at the height of the ethnic tensions that we were experiencing. The IPOB movement, the Arewa youth's threat of the Igbos in the northern part of the country, the call for Oduduwa Republic, the agitation for restructuring, and other agitations revving up in the country at that time. All of these things are reflected in the video, as you're going to see in a moment. However, due to some extenuating reasons, I could not put out the video before now. So why am I publishing this video now? Especially when it appears that the agitations have subsided to a degree, and given the festive season of the year that we are in. Here are the reasons. Number one, the Lord has mandated me to publish this message because it is a message from Him to the nation. Secondly, the message does not depend on what the current situation appears to be in our nation. You see, one of our weaknesses as human beings in general is our tendency to be lured into a dangerous complacency when we experience temporary reprieve from danger or from difficulty, only to be caught unawares at a later time without much recourse. Thirdly, the gravity of the message and the imminent nature of the things that are at stake supersede the sensitivity to the festive season of the year that we are in. In other words, when something is very important, it's just important no matter what time of the year it is. Now, fellow Nigerians, I want to plead with you. This is a message that we must listen to and act upon as a nation. Please don't be deceived by the temporary alleviation that we may be experiencing compared to a few months ago. In other words, let's not be tricked by the calm before the storm. These are the reasons why I'm publishing this message at this time of the year. This is just one of 3 videos. Please listen carefully and share widely. God bless you. Hello, I'm Pastor Samuel Obadare, and today I'd like to speak to my country, Nigeria, and I'd like to ask you to please give me a few minutes of your time for this very important subject. Now, if you are a Nigerian, you know that we're not strangers to crisis, and in recent times, our nation has been facing a cascade of them, from the terrorist group Boko Haram, which reportedly has killed about 100,000 people in the country and has displaced over 2 million people in our country, to the Fulani herdsmen's indiscriminate slaughter of villagers, to the recent IPOB movement that is going on, to the Arewa youth's quit notice that was given to the Igbos residing in the northern part of Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's largest nation, has been facing a barrage of difficult and problematic issues recently. Now, if you look at our economy, obviously, you see it's abysmal. The cost of living is skyrocketing almost on a daily basis. What used to be a staple man's food have become nearly unaffordable for an average person in our country. The massive displacement that has been caused by the devastation of Boko Haram has resulted in a near famine condition for the people living in the northeastern part of Nigeria. And currently, the issue we're facing, as you probably know, is the agitation over restructuring. And so our country has been going from one issue to the other, and it appears that we just cannot catch a break. But let's make no mistake about it. I want us to know that amongst all these issues that we have been facing, there is one issue that eclipses them all. This is a matter of very serious consequences. I think it's the most ferocious of anything that we have dealt with so far. In fact, I believe it literally poses an existential threat to the country of Nigeria, meaning that if we don't deal with it, it can literally end our nation as we know it. Now, this is a subject and it's an issue that has been seething and simmering for a long time, but it's now dangerously close to the verge of eruption. Now, if it should erupt full scale, it's going to spell a big disaster for our nation. Now, you may be wondering, what is it? Let me say it's not restructuring. It's not economic. It's not even political. Yet it's an enemy hidden in plain sight, determined to wreak havoc in our nation. What is it? It is religious war. It is jihad. It is the forceful imposition of Islam upon Nigeria. In other words, is the forceful Islamization of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, I know at this point, some people might be saying, here goes again, another propaganda, another fear-mongering, unsubstantiated claims to stoke fear in people and stoke divisions among people. Please, before you reach that conclusion, please listen to me and listen very carefully. Now, ignorance and naivete always prove to be disastrous. If you look at the word ignorance, it's ignorance. It's ignoring reality. And we don't want to do that. We want to face reality and deal with it for our own benefit and for our own safety. What I'm about to tell you in this video is not propaganda. It's not fear-mongering. It's not pessimism. It's not fatalism. Personally, I have no axe to grind other than I love my country. And I believe as a Nigerian, you should do that. In fact, it's the love, my love for my country and the burden for the country of Nigeria that makes me want to say the things I'm about to say in this video. And I believe if we love our country, we cannot look the other way and just keep silent, because this is not a time to keep silent about this issue in our country. If we keep silent, evil may befall us. My prayer is that the Lord will help us and grant us the grace to maneuver this issue so that we don't find ourselves to be blamed later on. Now, having said all of that, please then set aside your biases and your preconceptions and just lend me your ears and your hearts for a few minutes. Now, let me ask some serious questions that I believe are begging to be asked. Number one, what is behind Boko Haram? What is behind the Fulani herdsmen's indiscriminate killing? I call it killing rampage. I might add, with impunity. What is behind the burning of church buildings, the maiming, the dismembering, the burning of Christians in the north? You have seen the pictures before, I'm sure. What is behind Arewa Youth's audacity to give a major ethnic group in Nigeria a quit notice under the watch of a democratic federal government? It's one thing behind them all. You know what it is? It's the forceful imposition of Islam upon all Nigerians, period. We have to understand in our country that Islam by nature is an expansionist, imperialistic, supremacist religion. Its MO is to dominate wherever it is, whichever way possible. Just look at history. That's the way Islam has been. It cannot change. That's by nature. That's the way Islam is designed to operate. And so, Islamization of anywhere that Islam finds itself getting a foothold becomes the MO. It becomes the major pursuit. And so, Islamization of Nigeria is the chief goal of the Islamic powers in Nigeria. We have to understand that. And it doesn't matter whichever way they accomplish it, whether it's by knife or bombs or guns, as we have already been seeing. As a matter of fact, in northern parts and some pockets of our nation, we're already witnessing what I'm talking about. And so, Islamization of the country will take any form as long as it's been done, even to the point of using despotic legislations, unilateral legislations. They will do anything. Now, we have to understand that the Islamic cabal in Nigeria, they know that Islamizing the country is not a feat that can be accomplished just by a stroke of the pen through legislations, even though they are trying it. Therefore, they are prepared to carry it out whichever way possible. Now, again, like I said, it's something that has been in the works for a long time. Several regimes have tried it, and although they have failed severally, we have to understand that those failed attempts have only increased the resolve to get it done. The push has only gotten stronger over the years, and particularly recently. Now, we have to understand that the stage is being set when you look at all that is going on in our country. That's what makes this time even more dangerous. Everything that is going on, the the administration, for example. Just look at the military, the people in the key military positions in the current administration. That should give you some information about what I'm talking about. As Nigerians, we need to wake up now. Time is not on our side anymore. The Boko Haram terrorist activities going on, the herdsmen's killings and the church bombings and the Christian persecutions in the north, they are just a tiny tip of a large iceberg. All the horror news and images that you have been seeing in the northern part of the country, they are intended to be duplicated and repeated over and over and over in the middle belt, in the southeastern part of Nigeria, in south-south, in west, southwest, anywhere in Nigeria. This is the plan of the jihadists to replicate these disasters all over our country. And it can happen anytime from now if we fail to act and act fast. Now, first of all, if we have been paying attention, God has been sending and revealing to different people the wicked plans of the Islamic leaders to carry out jihad in Nigeria. I will not be the first person saying that. Just look around, search some videos and do some findings. You will see that God has already been revealing these things that I'm sharing with you to some other people. Secondly, if we are observant, can we not see how all the present ethnic agitations that are building up quickly in our country can easily become a justifiable pretext for the northern jihadists to carry out their brutal onslaught and Islamic takeover? Can we not see that? Now, regardless of where you stand on IPOB, the fact is ethnic debates have already been stirred up in our country and emotions are running very high. Recently, we have some people calling for the Arewa Republic of Nigeria. We have others agitating for Oduduwa Republic of Nigeria. Just the other day, I saw a video of a person advocating for an independent armed military force for just one of the ethnic groups in our country. We are also hearing of news of weapon seizures at our borders. Definitely somebody or some people are covertly importing military weapons into our country. And I don't think they are doing so to hunt deers. So the storm of serious ethnic conflict is gathering and is looming over our nation. Can we not see that? And can we not see how these things are setting the stage for the northern jihadists? All they have to do is capitalize on this and use it as a means to carry out the massacre of thousands, if not millions of Nigerians, to carry out jihad that has been in the works for a long time. We have to see that. We have to be observant in our country. Now, I know it's true that some of the recent pro-Islamic legislative proposals have been successfully contested and defeated. I know that Arewa youths they were forced to rescind their genocidal quit. I know that Operation Python Dance was recalled. I know these things. But these give some people the false sense that, Islamization of Nigeria will never be possible. Let me tell you something. We're just buying time. We're just buying time, and we don't have a lot of time to buy. These resisted attempts have little to no effect on repelling the grand Islamic agenda to Islamize Nigeria. The resisted attempts, they are just precursors to an all-out, full-scale, full-blown jihad against the country of Nigeria. That's what we have to understand. So let's not fool ourselves at all. I want us to know without beating about the bush that the greatest threat facing Nigeria today is not the issue of restructuring. It's not the socio-political or the geopolitical issues that we are dealing with. Those things are real, don't get me wrong. But those are not the greatest difficulties that we have to contend with. The deadliest threat that is threatening our nation is the seething volcano of jihad, if and when it erupts on our nation. All the agitations that are going on, they are just setting the stage for it. And we need to see through all these things going on. They are fueling what I'm talking about. They are giving the platform for execution. And we cannot allow that. Now, at this point, let me remind you of the timeless words of a very wise king, King Solomon, in the Bible. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 to 10, here's what it says. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us. Now here, what the king is saying is, what I'm telling you right now about the country of Nigeria, has already happened in history many times, whether it's recent history or distant ancient history. All we have to do is travel back in time. For example, do you know a man called Haman? The story of that man, Haman and the Jews in the Bible? Haman was the man that plotted and planned the annihilation of the Jewish people in the Persian kingdom during the time of Queen Esther. According to the book of Esther chapter 3, the decree was written by Haman, the king's highest officer in the land, and it was signed by King Ahasuerus. It was distributed to the officials throughout all the provinces of the empire, written in different languages of the people. And it instructed that on a particular day, that is the 13th day of the 12th month, all the Jews, both young and old, children and women, should be destroyed, killed and annihilated, and that their possessions should be plundered. The Bible goes on to say in verse 14, a copy of the document was to be issued as law in every province, being published for all people, that they should be ready for that day. The couriers went out, hastened by the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed in Shushan, the citadel. So the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. Esther chapter 3, verse 14 to 15. Please, let's wake up now, Nigeria. We have to wake up now before it's too late. What Haman conspired and planned for the Jews has been in the works for our country for a long time. The scheme is grand, the scheme is elaborate, is well orchestrated, is forceful, and is deadly. The same way Haman planned a disastrous plan for the Jews at that time, the jihadists, the northern jihadists, have plans for all non-Muslims in Nigeria. Now, it's possible sometimes when we're thinking about these things that some of us in some part of Nigeria will be saying, well, that's the problem of some part, that's the problem of those people. I want to let you know that that's not the case. Nigerian Easterners, you are on the northern jihadist list for slaughter. Southerners, you are in the crosshairs of the northern jihadists. All Christians in Nigeria, you are in the crosshairs of the jihadists. Even Yoruba Muslims, I want you to know that you're not exempted just because you're in the south and you are Muslims. As far as the northern Muslims are concerned, you are not real Muslims. You need to know that. And so, Middle Belt people, you're not exempted. In other words, Southwest Yorubas, this is not a South-South problem. This is not a Southeast problem. Whether you're Middle Belt, South-South, Southeast, Southwest, the jihadists have plans for you, for your children, and for your family in Nigeria. That is what we need to face up to, and that is the reality. Now, let me bring us back to a more recent history. Remember Sudan. Remember Rwanda. Perhaps those people thought it could never happen to them. Perhaps they thought they had things under control. Who knows whether those horrible devastations could have been prevented just if the nations acted promptly and did the right thing. Nigeria, we should not let bad history repeat itself in our own country. We have enough history to learn from. Now, for those that are beckoning to the Western world, particularly the US and Europe, for assistance at this time, you are doing a good thing. Let me credit you. Thank you for what you're doing. Don't stop. But let me bring you to a stark reality. Where was the US while Liberian civil war went on and millions of people were killed? Where were the US and Europe and United Nations when ethnic cleansing and the horrible genocide took place in Rwanda? How many lives were lost in Sudan under the gaze of the Western world? Just look at South Sudan. It's a horrible thing going on there. In fact, what you could call modern-day slavery has been going on there since the Civil War has started. Here's my point. Nigeria, the Western world, is not our hope or solution. That's all I'm saying. Now, let me tell us what time it is in our country right now. It is time to stop our normal activities and our apathetical response. It is time to pay immediate and serious attention and act appropriately if the boiling pot, the furious boiling pot from the north will not be turned and poured over all of our heads in Nigeria. I pray that the Lord will not allow that to happen. This is not a time to be distracted or to be sidetracked by other issues that are going on. As I've mentioned to you, the other ongoing issues, as important as they are, and I concede that they are very important, they will either be used as a decoy to hold our attention and to distract us, or as a pretext to make their disastrous move, or even as both. The horror images that you have been seeing in the north, in other parts of Nigeria, is what the jihadists want to repeat everywhere else that you are in Nigeria. That's what I'm talking about. Now, where are we going to flee to? We are a nation of 180 million people. Where would our children go? Where would our wives go? Where would we go and flee? That's what I'm talking about. And so, if we are wise, if we are prudent, we will recognize that it is no longer a time to be dismissive. It's no longer a time either to make self-centered prayers right now, or to shrug our shoulders and just go about our daily business or our daily hustle and jostle. That's not the time we're living in Nigeria. Let me say this. Pastors and Christian leaders, if we should decide that, well, we're just going to go on with our normal church activities and programs without doing anything about this issue, I want to tell us that in the nearest future, those churches and those congregations may not be there. May God forbid. All I'm saying to you is that this is an urgent and critical matter that demands everyone's immediate attention. Listen to what the Bible says in the book of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 3. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Here's the question. Are we going to be prudent? Are we going to foresee what I'm saying and act appropriately? Or are we going to be naive and just move on until we're punished? That's right from the scriptures. All right? And so, listen to me very carefully, everybody. If you are a non-Muslim in Nigeria, regardless of your geopolitical zone, your life is in danger. That's the truth. And we have to see that. Normal Christians, serious Christians, devout Christians, prayer warriors, pastors, evangelists, and even unbelievers, your lives are in serious danger. Don't be lulled to sleep at this time. Don't be unconcerned. Don't trifle around. As the adage says, no one lights a fire on his roof and then just go on to sleep. And so what we need to understand is that if calamity should break out, it may be too late. It may be too late for you to do your part. It may be too late for you to take things seriously. It may be too late for you to pray even. And if by God's grace, if you should escape, you may not be able to save your loved ones. Please don't be dismissive about what I'm saying. Don't be ignorant and don't be nonchalant. Don't scorn what you're saying. I believe a lot of times the simple reason why disasters happen is simply because people deny. It's because of denial and nonchalance. Like the Yoruba people, we like to say, well, let me say, this is not a time for that. This is not a time to shrug our shoulders. If we are complacent, it's going to be to our hurt. If we pretend ignorance and refuse to face reality, we will regret it. Please understand me. This is not sectarianism. This is not blackmailing our northern citizens. In fact, I personally know a Fulani Christian from the north, Fulani in particular, and Christian. So I'm not saying that all northerners, there are no Christians in them, but I'm just telling you the stark reality that we need to deal with as far as our geopolitical zones are concerned. And so it is not a false alarm, and it's not an alarm of hatred. It is rather a clarion call to alarm and alert Nigerians of an impending reality. The reality is, the same way Haman planned and plotted and orchestrated to wipe out the Jews, I want you to know that evil has been planned against Christians in Nigeria to wipe them out in a coordinated, well-orchestrated, ruthless bloodbath of jihadist attacks. That's what I'm saying the reality is. Now, if Esther and Mordecai didn't see the letter and roll over in their bed and just go to sleep, no, they didn't do that. They sprang into action. They fasted. They prayed. They acted. And God delivered them. We Christians in Nigeria, we cannot be docile. We cannot look on until our children and our wives and our men are slaughtered like animals on the streets. We can't do that. Look all over the world. It's going on already. All right? So we're not going to say we don't have enough advance notice. We will only blame ourselves for nonchalance and dismissal. All right? And so Ignorance is costly. We know ethnic war is very bad. We know religious war, especially jihad, is bad, is worse. But a combination of both can bring more calamity than anyone can describe. May it never occur in our country. Now, the military and the pro-Islamic harassments we have been witnessing here and there in some pockets, I want you to know they are just the beginning if we don't do something. To be forewarned, as the saying goes, is to be forearmed. And so the question now is no longer, can these things be true? The question rather is, so what do we do? How do we get ourselves out of this impending danger and doom that can break out any time? Well, a lot of times, before you can successfully solve a problem, especially a problem of this magnitude, you need to know the genesis of the problem. And how did we get to this stage in our country? What can we do to save our nation? These two things I'm going to be addressing in the next videos that will be following this. But in the meantime, please share this video widely on your social media. Let it get to every Nigerian, inside Nigeria or in diaspora. It doesn't matter. Let everybody know that this is an issue that we cannot, it shouldn't any longer be a white elephant in the room. We got to talk about it, okay? We are facing an existential threat like never before. And it's not any of these geopolitical, socio-political things. It's that thing called jihad. And we better act and act fast. And Pastor Samuel, please share this video. God bless you.